I got this. I got this other pair, which I think is a lot better. So hopefully, I won't have any issues, any cutoff communication. So um, just in case you don't listen to me well or something goes off concerning communication, please let me know about it. Let me know about it, and I will be on top of that because these things happen. Okay. Well, I was checking Classroom last night, and I discovered some positive comments from you, the audience. Well, I appreciate very much your support and your positive remarks. It's a good thing to know that I'm fulfilling expectations. So this is very, very positive. It means that at least the way we're presenting or addressing this complex topic, because it's very complex, as you can see, we're going outside education in many regards. We're doing it effectively, and as it seems, things are at least germane, right? So to speak, like they make sense, and you feel everything is clear, or as much as possible. Many things that we're talking about are related to anthropology, sociology, psycholinguistics. Um, there is also history, of course, language education, in general linguistics, same as also applied linguistics. So it's a very diverse array of topics that we're tapping on. It's not always easy to bring specific things, into our tour, because we're trying to walk ourselves through um, this topic. As you know, the topic is culture. Culture. Culture means many things for many people. Nevertheless, what I think matters the most is that we have addressed so far the the relationship or the interaction that there is between language and culture, right? Language and culture. Now we know why we speak about culture, right? We speak about culture because this is the content that is communicated through language. Language should be always seen as a vehicle, right? A vehicle. It's a vehicle for the communication of emotions and ideas, concepts, history, shared history. And well, I hope this has been established because many people always wonder, so language and culture, what does that mean? How can I relate that to that? And they immediately think about um, folk uh, topics like historic or probably somewhat related to heritage. There's so many elements of identity immersed in all of this that, as you noticed yesterday, by the end of the presentation, we started talking more freely about race, about gender relationships, and this is the idea. you know a culture encompasses all human groups that belong to a population. This is the reality. From our specific perspective, we are trying to address the topic, uh, always considering what our students may need, right? May need. I received some questions in which some people were inquiring either if it was advisable or whether it was advisable for a professor to, entertain these cultural topics in the classroom. So by all means, I must tell you, yes, students need this background information. There's no other way they're gonna get anything like this because, uh, they will just, uh, you know, behave as they always do. And very often, as we were discussing yesterday, because I'd like to bring this up again, our students and even us, we're not aware of what we do with language, okay? So that's why culture is discursive practices. how we use language in order to communicate. Remember, we should always bear in mind this dyadic, because it's a dual relationship, right? Language is the what we say, and the culture is how we say it. Okay, how we say it is as important as what we say. The vehicle will vary; it can be Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, English, etc. But the culture is the content, it's the core of the message, it's meaning. So everything revolves at the end around meaning, right? We were talking about that also yesterday, and I will not stress hard enough and keep on repeating that meaning is at the bottom of the whole communication process. Now, I just shared my screen. Do you see it fine, or is it kind of blurry or anything? Let me just make sure it's clear. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Um, Before I you know, uh jump in and start diving into cultural variations, which is a broad term for many different uses of language in order to communicate culture, before I jump in, eh, I'd like to bring to your attention that I left you there in Classroom, Google Classroom, a visual uh, that establishes a continuum of different nationalities, which are high context and low context. I left you that. Um, that's just for the sake of illustrating the point that I'm about to be developing today. So if you want to relate to that, or if you find any differences, it will be a good thing. So this is very good material for reflections, very good food for thought, right? Food for thought, so to speak. Also, I left there a Michael Page talent recruiter report that has a table of salaries for bicultural, bilingual individuals who are at the higher end of our job market. And as I mentioned explicitly, being bicultural and being bilingual allows these people to be hired by multinational companies, which are companies with and present in different countries. Michael Page serves Central America from Panama. Panama is their headquarters for regional headquarters for Michael Page Recruiting Agency. It's a British company. They claim that salaries for executives will go as high as $20,000 a month. I'm talking about monthly salary, all the way down to around $2,000 monthly. The reason I bring this up is because I was watching on YouTube a video, and also on local news, that we are not watching that often anymore, that Mr. Vasquez, administrator of a canal administrator, he was walking into a place, and he was approached by someone behind him and started filming him and insulting him. Uh, I I became aware that the reason for this kind of behavior is because Mr. Vasquez, I don't know if you're familiar with him, as Catin Vasquez, administrator, canal administrator. This man had a $26,000 monthly salary. That's his salary, right? And we all know that during the past administration, they increased his salary. But then I saw him, I started thinking like, okay, this gentleman should be highly trained. I discovered he's a PhD holder. And not only that, he was a Fulbright grantee several times, I think probably twice. I don't know if more than that. And this gentleman um, earns this kind of salary because that's the salary and executives at his level should be earning. This is what Michael Page establishes, that if someone is qualified, they should be paid accordingly, according to the skill set that or the profile they fulfill for the position. Um, I saw Mr. Vasquez defend in English his position in the canal, both at an interview. He had somewhere in the media with a lady in the States, and he did that brilliantly. That was excellent. Also, I saw him talk to Marco Rubio, present day Secretary of State, and he did wonderfully in English. Now I wonder, now, why do people feel that that kind of salary is extremely high? That's what the job market reveals in this report, that executives at the top should be making over $20,000. That's the salary, even though this is a public institution that's more government related than anything, because it's very independent. Uh, but the reality is that English is money. That's what I was talking to you about yesterday. English is money. Money plays an important role in all of these things that we are talking about. So once more, my message to you is what I tell my students at the English department. I tell them immediately as they see my face, put my face in front of them, I look at them in the eye and tell them, listen, guys, I am here because we're doing something important. This is the most important thing you are doing for yourselves. I don't waste time. Don't make me waste my time, because many of them have a very arrogant attitude, and they always try to tell you that you're making them waste their time. It's them. It's on them. It's on their side if they feel that they're wasting time at the university. Okay. We never waste time. Everything we do is very important. And this is all about money ultimately. So, okay, I'd like to insist very much on this because I think it's a highly relevant topic to discuss about. Okay, so for starters, yes, yesterday I was showing you this slide. I hope you can see it, right? You do see it, right? With the flags, right?
The first phase journey starts.
All right. Yes. Some people are like speaking. Okay. Well, now this is the slide. The slide shows that there is this variety of cultural behavior, or behavior that reflects cultural values among these nationalities. The reason why we don't have the American flag in the middle is because the United States is another international country, just like ours and many others. We have people from all over the world. So the right thing to do concerning this is to divide them, by very specific countries with their own flags. We can, even though I know we've been talking about BANA cultures, right? British, Australian, North America, because those are the mainstream English speaking uh, regions of the world. The reality is that these countries also gather all these other populations from all over the world, which are located elsewhere, right? In the old world also, lots of European countries, Middle Eastern, and so forth. So that's the reason why you don't see only the BANA flags, which would be, in this case, American and Australian. So we see the different others, right? So on the left, we have lower context. On the right, we have higher context. So according to this image, which is the very best I found, which more accurately reflected what the theory explains about this topic, is that lower context societies, or lower context cultures, are the ones in which things are much more direct, okay? Because everything is understood and there is agreement on what is the right way of doing things. So people carry themselves with the reliance and the assurance that things have been, discussed, agreed, and they are entitled to certain guarantees. Okay. On the other end, not that the right side are corrupt or anything like that, but rules are not necessarily written. Okay, things are for the freedom of interpretation on the population. So you have a lot of unwritten rules, several behaviors that are probably not understood, or which are probably unpredictable. Okay, so one way to put this relationship, you know, out is to say that lower context cultures are more predictable because of things already being set, and on the other end, things are pretty much unpredictable because there is a lot of freedom of interpretation and freedom of altering things. And you'll discover that this reflects in language, right? Language is affected by these different trends. Um, I don't know if you have noticed the elephant in the room concerning this slide. There is something missing. What is missing? Anybody, please let me know. What is missing in this continuum of high context versus low context cultures represented by their flags? What is missing?
Central America.
Yes, Latin America, LATAM, right? Latin America, LATAM. And the reason is because I think we were not even considered for, um, you have South American, like the Brazilian flag that represents probably whoever put this image together, they think that flag represents the rest of Latin America, considering that it's probably the uh, more developed and much more probably populated country of the whole region, because I think it's the heavier on that side. Nevertheless, it's not a Spanish speaking country. So in that regard, it's not as representative or important in this regard. Nevertheless, you see what end Latin America is on the higher context. So there is a lot of freedom of interpretation and unwritten rules and unexpected things that will occur. Okay, so this is an important point to make. Okay, and moving on, and now I have a video. Hopefully, because I'm very conservative in this regard. I hope this YouTube videos, which is accessible for anybody, is going to be available for all of us to watch. I'm concerned probably about audio, if audio is going to be available for us. I have some questions underneath that I would like the audience today to entertain and discuss. We're going to discuss this, and I expect your participation because these concepts are new and they need to be addressed, seriously, because we need to get a clear idea of what they are. We have directness, questions about indirectness. Everybody knows what directness is. It's being very straightforward in what you say, right? Not very polite, necessarily polite, but very direct in what you are, in your intent. You won't beat around the bush. Indirectness is a little bit formal, more formal. Not that the person is requesting or communicating directly, but person's going to be offering some more, flowery uh, phrases. It's going to soften up and sugarcoat things, sugarcoat some to some extent. So I have another one. A third question is indirectness used in high context cultures? Why not? And how does indirectness affect communication? So I'm going to proceed and show the video. Let's cross fingers, everything works out fine. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be posting this very same link in Classroom anyways, with the questions for you guys to do it in writing. Let's hope we can do it here orally, so that we don't have to, carry these on our shoulders later, in writing or anything like that, So let me just go ahead and see how it works. Crossing my fingers here. These are commercials, right? Commercial.
No, but we can't hear, and there's a black thing in the middle.
Okay, this is a commercial. My question is this: do you listen to the audio just fine?
No, no.
You're not listening to any of this. Okay,
No.
let's
No.
wait. Let's wait until the commercial is over and see what happens. All right. We have to put up with it a bit because, as you know, this is a free video. You know how it works and how it rolls in the internet. So let me just keep on reproducing it until it's over, and then let's see if we are going to be effective or not. I'll let you know. Allow me, and bear with me, please. Thank you.
Maybe if you share the link through the chat, everybody will be able to see it.
Okay, commercial is over. Okay, here we go. Do you listen to the audio?
No. There is just a black screen there, and there is nothing like video or is a YouTube video?
It's a YouTube video.
No,
That is right. No.
it doesn't show up.
Well, this is very unfortunate. Let me see if I probably make it larger. Probably that way. Let me see. Let me see what else I can do. Still not visible, right?
No.
Let me see. Pause my sharing.
The thing is that I think you have a window open or something open. That's why we cannot see what you are showing.
So stop sharing and then try to share again and click the link or the video.
Or the other solution is that you share the link and one of us can help you with sharing the video.
Big Chuck is joining us. Captain State Chuck, I believe, is joining us by the phone. Can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Thanks so much. Video.
All right. Unfortunately, I think it's not gonna work out. This is unfortunate. So, as I was saying before, what I'm planning to do is to post the link in Google Classroom along with some questions for directness and indirectness, and we'll have to bypass this um, section. Do you listen to me? Do you guys?
Yes, Professor.
Okay.
Copy.
So, yeah, I think, well, we'll do it this way. Let's see how it works. It will do it through Classroom. That's why we have these resources also. So I'm gonna go back and resume where I was with the presentation, please. We're trying our best here, and sometimes things work, sometimes they just don't work. Okay, so here we go. So do you see it? Do you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have to come back to the to theory. Okay, what is it that you're gonna find in Google Classroom? Okay, concerning this active link that unfortunately didn't take me directly to the video. I think it has to do with the problem I'm having right now because it's a free video and there are many commercials. And as you know, that's how they make this service profitable. And sometimes you have to put up with commercials. So the thing is this, some cultures that belong to the end, where it's a low context, they are pretty direct in communication. What that means is they're going to tell you things straight to your face, and they don't do it because they want to be rude. The thing is, that's the way it is in their culture. So most of these people coming from Scandinavian countries, probably Northern Europe, probably Germany, Swiss, and so forth. Remember, Swiss is a split countries, divided into different or broken down into different populations. Most of these Europeans are pretty direct in what they say, okay? And they expect things to be automatic. They don't beg for anything, or they don't think that they have to ask for any special favor or make any, I don't know, beg for any help, or, you know, all of these things. And they will immediately let you know because of their directness. Now, what they do in order not to be, because they are aware of the way they carry themselves, is that they try to downgrade their comments. They try to downgrade. By downgrading, I mean they soften up somewhat, and they struggle sometimes with this. For people from Latin America, which is our case, they come across as very direct and sometimes aggressive, or very rude. And they're kind of, you know, some people think like they're hard to please, or difficult customers. And it's a situation that many people who've been in touch with them comment. They're you know, people with an origin in these countries also tend to inherit this behavior through their parents. And that's the rudeness that we find rudeness that we find in communication from some European groups or groups of an European heritage from this part of the world. On the other hand, the other cultures which are in the low context or tend to be more flexible. What they try to do sometimes is adjust the way they speak, and I think that's our case in Latin America. We try to make ourselves understood by dealing with a situation by offering some direct words or try to be a little bit more assertive in what we say. The questions that I'm asking you here is for you to define directness and indirectness, okay? And for you to justify why it is normal in low context societies. If you watch the video, you will get a lot more information from what I just offered here in session. So this should be a follow-up to what this idea of low context society and high context society. It's also important for you to think of in terms of indirectness. When some people are very direct, what would they sugarcoat things? Why not? And if indirectness affect communication, because it's like, as I was telling you, beating around the bush, and this is part of culture. This is part of culture that we need to know what we should expect from people depending on who they are. Not that we're prejudiced, not that we hold any stereotypes, but we need to know what to expect from them because it's part of their behavior. I'm going to proceed and try to develop further this topic in session here. So look at this. This slide is very revealing. At the title, you have direct and indirect communication styles, right? So on the left, if you're a direct communicator, so let's put ourselves in the shoes of someone coming from Northern Europe, maybe Germany, one of those countries, probably even Russia belongs to this category. You see, a person could tell you in a very kind of bossy way, like, give me your input on this, right? Like is demanding this, it's commanding, some kind of order, or letting you know something like that is wrong, straight to your face without any sugarcoating whatsoever. That's what they normally do in their relations in their country among their fellow nationals. They tell you things like, you should talk to him about this problem because this is the problem. So they'll go straight to the point. Or you need to. They offer you the preaching to you, like letting you know I need this, and this is the solution. This is pretty bossy, and it's not only very not always very generous, and people don't assume or take it very nicely. They feel it's too aggressive of a behavior, and they immediately start wondering, like, now who do you think you are? So this kinds of people from this cultural context, what they could do instead or say instead is by using English, as you know, it's a lingua franca. Instead of give me your input is what do you think about? You see, you're allowing the person, your listener, to have the freedom to decide what idea they can come up concerning X topic, instead of telling you, give me this, all right? Give me this input, okay? So the use of language matters here for cultural reasons. This indirectness is respectful. Remember that we're trying to save people's face and respect them. Instead of saying that is wrong, they could probably come up with something like, I'm not so sure that is right. I'm not so sure that is right. So in a way, it's like they are allowing the space to let you know that there is a possibility of things not being correct. They may be, they may not be, but they're not so judgmental. We have, you should talk to him about, you should talk to him about, that is, instead, could be, explained as, what if you talk to him concerning, and that way, probably people won't feel that you're putting a lot of pressure on their shoulders, or you need to, right? So this is very bossy and very I don't know, direct, right? You need to listen to that. This is like some prescription. No, it's coming from an authority. Well, even though a person could be probably maybe a manager, maybe a client, they're important. You know, the way you talk to, the way you say things matters, right? We just talked about that. Discursive practices. I wonder if would be a lot more polite. So this is the case of remarks coming from people from those low context societies or cultures. They address things, or they approach communication. They do an effort to go in the direction of being a little bit more indirect for the purpose of not projecting this aggressive image. Okay. On the other end, we could have someone from Latin America who could, not be very direct in the way they use English, right? Our lingua franca. By talking to people probably from one of these low context cultures, instead of telling you like, how about this, which is like very open, well, you could probably tell them, well, I strongly suggest this, right? It's a way of being more a little bit more, specific, right? About what your intentions are, about intentions. Instead of telling someone like, I tend to agree, it's like, I want your agreement too, or this is the way I do it, right? And you should do so too. No, instead of that, you say, no, well, that is absolutely right. And then you hedge, okay? Or you provide argumentation for your opinion. And here is why. You see, that is absolutely right. You express some agreement. This is very polite. You're allowing the person to know that you agree to some extent. Well, and then you provide some reasons for that. I think maybe, which is still a little bit indirect, you're going to be, my advice is a little bit more direct. My advice is this. Or, well, what if, allowing some freedom, and instead of that, well, you should go for words like recommend. Well, I recommend this. Okay. So we also, high context cultures have a challenge. We have the challenge of being more assertive, while people from these low context cultures, they have the challenge of being much more polite, right? Especially when they speak with people from high-end cultures, or high context cultures. So I have a question for you, just to make sure we're on the same page, right? Listen, where is Panama? What is Panama? A low context culture or a high context culture? I'm double checking just to see if we're on the same page on this topic, please. Somebody let me know. What is Panama? A low context culture or a high context culture?
I think we're very direct in Panama. So that would be like, I don't know if we're assertive, but we are very direct when we talk. Because I've compared with some other countries in Latin America, and I find they are more polite than Panamanians. And we tend to raise our voice when we talk.
Very interesting point. You've made an interesting point there. I have to agree with you. And probably the reason is because, you know, we are like a special group, right? We're not exactly a part of Central America, but we're not exactly a part of South America either. We're like there alone in the middle. But the reality is that we are a high context culture, okay? A lot of interpretation is offered whenever some discussion or communication occurs or anything. People are generally improvising. Things are not set. You cannot take anything for granted either, unless you have a contract. And even with a contract, you should know that there are ways people are gonna, you know, try to bypass some rules, or this is, you know, part of the corruption scheme that we're going through. As you know, there's corruption everywhere, but low context cultures fight it because people are entitled, you see, and everything is written, and there are even unwritten rules that pertain to cultures that have probably we could say um, citizenship as a human being at the center, right? At the center, right? Okay, we have somebody speaking. We have somebody speaking behind us. It's interrupting me.
Tratamos de contactar a una empresa que pudiera dar los primeros auxilios, por eso tenemos a Fecha.
Argelia, please close this microphone. I think it's Argelia's
Una de las
microphone.
muchachas es enfermera, graduada de enfermería.
Argelia.
Y está graduada
Argelia.
de enfermería.
Amazing. I can't stop it.
All right, very good. Yeah, thank you for muting that. So, Panama, we are, yeah, just like we were saying before, we belong to a higher context area. We do not have everything, you know, like unwritten and widely accepted. And there's a lot of, you know, unpredictability in communication and in things we do. So just look at where the Brazilian flag is placed. It's leaning to the higher context end of the continuum. And this is where Panama and Latin America tends to be situated. So for different reasons, as you see here, you see Arab and Asian, they tend to be in a higher context. Well, these are very resilient people, very resilient. You see that they struggle, but they generally prevail. And the reason is because they're prepared for all of this instability, right? And it's something they have learned very early to cope with this. Okay, so once more, to recap this point on high context, people coming from high context and low context. If a person is a direct communicator, a German, a Norwegian, a Swedish person, Danish, any of these, or a national, or someone with heritage from this part of the world, generally they're going to be very direct and try to soften up what they say by using some expressions that are, somewhat show some respect or deference for his or her fellow, the person they're talking to. If we are from the high context part of the continuum, such as in Latin America, or probably as you see there, maybe in Asian countries, so forth, and you're very indirect, you try to be more direct and you adjust the way you approach people, the way you talk to them. So this is it. Now, in order to make sure we're on the same page concerning this topic, I have an activity here for you that I would like you to develop with me. It's a very, very simple thing. We're going to use what we know about language, And then we're going to start talking very concretely about some important cultural construct. It's called politeness. Politeness is the ultimate expression of regard and respect for our fellow human beings, right? And indirectness is closely connected to politeness. We need to be polite because we live in society. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to be polite. But politeness is a much required element. Just to give you an example, in some cultures, there isn't much politeness, right? There's a lot of directness. And well, we don't want to people to think that we are rude, or we don't want them to think that we have no spine, that we don't have any clear ideas on what we want. So we have to adjust, right? So let's try to see if we could come up with ways of telling the same thing in a polite way, right? Indirectly. So instead of saying, I'm running late for this deadline, what could you say? That is this is pretty direct. You see, it's a situation. So how could you make this indirect, please? At least one attempt. I need somebody to give it a try, please.
I'm sorry, is the first one an excuse?
No, it is not. I'm just saying a situation I'm facing. Let's imagine, well, I have a conference coming and coming up, and it's already scheduled. But I'm developing material for that. And then all of a sudden I say, well, I'm running late for this deadline. And let's imagine this is work that I'm doing with other people. So I have a team and I tell them now, I'm running late for this deadline. That implies that they're late too. So how could I make this indirect?
Can I say apologize for the delay?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to apologize. Apologizing is not necessary here because you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything wrong. You're facing a limitation. So how could you make this indirect? You see, this is challenging because we need to think carefully about what people's reaction could be after you say something like this. Some people may take it.
How about complying with this deadline might be difficult?
Okay, that's an interesting and possible saying. Say complying with this might be difficult, could be difficult. Okay, we could say different things like that. Exactly. Um, um, well, instead of that, it could be something like, "Oh, I'd rather get my act together for this coming presentation." Okay, or I might need to think through organizing my time before this deadline, something like that. It's a lot more indirect. And people's reaction is not going to be harsh, or they may not feel that you're directing some kind of an accusation towards them. You see, because when you say something like this, probably there is someone responsible. Okay, these are things that we professional people tend to say in different contexts, environments. You can even tell this to students, maybe to your family, and they may take it like you are accusing them for some reason. So, because right after that, you could say something like, well, I always the one who has to cook at home, or I could use a lot more help with the house chores. You see? So things like that, thinking about it this way, and never apologize, because here we're not doing anything wrong. It's just we're commenting, right? But we're trying to avoid being harsh, extremely straightforward, or coming across as rude. This rudeness is a problem. So look at this other one. So you must watch that bad cold of yours. So you're telling a person after they sneeze or cough hard, something like this. How can you make this a lot more polite? Number two, you must watch that bad cold of yours.
You could give that person an advice. Why don't you go to a doctor? I don't
That's
know.
that's even harder than what it is on what done. You know, it's very hard to tell a person that they may get offended. Very
Really?
offended. Really, yeah, yeah. So, you know, instead of this, you could tell, I could think of something like, oh, well, wow, this is the cold season. Okay. I think the message is clear. So the person knows that you are aware that they have a cold, but you're not telling them what to do. You see the difference. Okay. And then the conversation will go
And,
along in more friendly terms, friendlier terms.
and what about a comment?
Such as
Just
what?
to say like, I hope you are taking care of yourself. But
I
it
hope
depends
you're taking care of what?
to whom you're talking. I think that it depends to whom you're talking to, because if you are with a friend, you can say just, I hope you're taking care of yourself.
Okay, that's it. That's even more direct because you're getting into somebody else's personal life. So we should not tell them anything like that. No way. The person's gonna feel offended because you're telling them that they don't know how to take care of their family. So why don't you say something like,
I can say like, oh, the call is on the air.
yeah, yeah.
No?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This is the cold season, or a very good coat. You know, a good coat is necessary to go out. Or you could tell them something like, I remember once feeling very uncomfortable because of a cold I had.
Yeah.
Something indirect, you know, but you cannot tell them,
Yeah.
yeah, so directly. Is there anybody else who wants to say something? Give it a try. Indirectness, politeness. What about the third one? She has all the tickets in her purse. How can we make this a little bit more polite?
Maybe asking who has the tickets.
Yeah, who has the tickets? Or probably we should talk to Susan, or maybe we should talk to Andrea about tickets, right? Something like that, right? A little bit more.
Or I wonder if someone has an extra ticket.
Yeah, exactly. You bring up the topic. Exactly. I wonder if someone has an extra ticket. Okay, and then the person should take notice of what you're telling them, right? So take a look at the next one. I hit that dress color. Next, please. So this is strong. You see, this is very strong. How could you make this more polite?
Maybe I would
Can
prefer
I
another.
ask, okay, go ahead. Okay, I should say like, can I explore other options?
Very good. Exactly. Or could I have it in a different color that I like better, or that looks better on my skin? Something like that. You see? Okay, you're not
Or my favorite
blaming.
color is red, for example, an opposite color.
Yeah. Well, I like the reddish colors better. Could it be possible to have a different color, or do you have other options with the
Or
same?
maybe, oh, this dress is beautiful, but I would rather have it in another color.
This is a very good one too, exactly. So, and these are the things we tend to overlook. And once more, I'm gonna insist on this. Politeness is a serious construct. A construct is a concept that pervades across, social behavior. In this case, because we're talking about culture. It's a very serious thing. And we don't notice that, and we do it the Spanish speaking way or the Panamanian speaking Spanish way, and that's generally pretty harsh. And people are gonna roll their eyes and look at you like, oh, what's the matter? Or we may feel someone is being aggressive towards us, and probably that's not their intention. So we need to gain awareness of politeness. Okay, look at the other one. Your mother's food is awful. This is openly rude, right? Openly rude. I could tell someone instead of this, like, um, maybe we could take a rain check. Uh, or I'm allergic to some spices, or something like
It is difficult. It is difficult.
yeah, but you have to find a way around this, and you see that's why people create all kinds of misunderstandings, because things come out naturally
Yeah.
without a filter, and it's some kind of a personal censorship that you have to establish and keep in mind. Look at this expression, whatever. I've listened to lots of Panamanians. They have this borrowed expression from English, and they think that expression it's a good Anglicism for them to use in conversation. This is extremely rude, because I'm going to be talking to you very shortly about expressions that people use when they just want to express disregard toward what others say, and this is offensive, extremely offensive. So whatever, no, you don't say that. What could you say instead of whatever? You're gonna tell them things like, I really don't care about that.
I'm
That's
okay
very
with
rude.
that.
No. Yeah, that's a lot better. I am okay with that. If you have no if it's okay with you, I'm all right with it too. Something like that, you see, but not whatever. That's very rude, okay? Politeness. Okay, very good. So I think this is clear. Now, what would you expect someone from a low context culture say? Okay, what I'm offering you here is situations that someone from a very direct culture could say some other way. What do you think someone would tell you, considering they come from maybe one of these parts of the world that we just mentioned before? So they say the service is very slow at a restaurant. It could be something like, please tell the waiter to hurry. Okay, that's what they could probably say. Okay, because this is the way in that part of the world, or this is the way they carry themselves. So something like the meeting is delayed. Instead of saying something like that, they could probably say, this meeting is never happening. You see? And then they snap something like this, and people are going to feel like, oh my God, okay, this is like a very difficult person. Or something like a receipt is missing from an account. Your report is incomplete, okay? They'll tell you straight to your face, your report is incomplete. And from someone from that context, they think they're probably not doing anything wrong, but it is, right? Or a reservation is canceled.
May I say something, Mr. Cardenas?
Sure, go ahead. Mhm.
Okay, I feel that these topics could be very good to analyze them in a conversation class, because it has to do with customer service, the way how we treat people, the way how we say things. Yeah, I think people, if you ask people here, how is customer service here in Panama, the first answer is bad. Yeah, if they say bad, because precisely of situations like the one that you're focusing in that slide. So what would be your opinion? How could we improve? How could we be better professional? How could we handle, be more polite if we are dealing with customer service?
So yeah, I think it's not only on the job kind of language, human relations in general. Ever since the visitors approach us at the airport, or if you have a person on the phone and you're talking to them, you have to understand that depending on where they come from, you need to understand that they take certain things for granted. You see, they don't want to deal with delays, cancellations, or changes, or sudden changes. That creates problems. And we don't want them to get the impression that we don't know what we're doing. That's the problem. So everything revolves around respect also. We need to save our face. And in order to do so, we need to tell them the truth, but we have to be prepared and prepare them, okay? To be prepared to what they may tell us, and also offer a solution or resolution politely. So the idea is that either we're professional people or not, we have to be able to communicate well with our fellows. And politeness is very necessary, very necessary. And something like a coffee maker breaks down, you could say, no, that thing is not working, or this is not working. We have to understand that this is the way they will generally say things, right? And maybe they don't mind very much about how they say things, and we may feel like they're grumpy or whatever, but that's the way it is. And we cannot change these things. What we could probably adjust is our use of language, right? Our use of language. So we need a lot more awareness of these notions of high context cultures and low context cultures, and the importance of politeness. Now, here's what I was telling you before about indifference. Expressions such as whatever. If you say something like this is going to spark an argument, may cause an argument. These are expressions that shouldn't be used, right? High context cultures, they tend to cope with these demands and specific requirements that some populations take for granted. by using some expressions such as this one that I'm listing here through this excellent image. Something like I couldn't care less, or take it or leave it, or whatever, not my problem, or let it slide, who cares? No, doesn't matter to me, or no skin of my nose. All of that is, what do you think that is? They may be, those may be okay with a co-worker, probably to some extent. Not that the manager would listen to someone speaking something, you know, or maybe a professor or some neighbor or somebody would listen to you telling someone, or you know, things like this. This is just not okay, and this is part of culture also. These are what we call coping strategies. When people demand things, many of them show, many of the people under pressure cope with that situations, difficult situation, using indifference expressions. Now I have a question for you. Have you listened to people use this coping strategy of expressing indifference, either in English or in Spanish, of course, because remember, this is something that is across nationalities and across language language boundaries. Have you listened to people speak this way?
Of course, I have heard them in Spanish and English. In
Okay.
Spanish, ese no es mi problema. In English, I don't care. It's not my problem.
So do you think this is like preparing people to work in customer service necessarily? I really don't think so. I really think we need to, not to change, but gain awareness that these things are not okay. Look, this country doesn't want mining, and the only other economic option for not mining is tourism. And tourism is having thousands of visitors coming to our country, and will leave throughout the year with all of these people here. Even university internationalization is also having foreign students coming to Panama. We should not encourage this behavior. We need to start thinking in terms of, being more respectful and having politeness at the core of human relations. Okay. Not that we're hypocrites or anything, but we genuinely need to start thinking about changing some attitudes, right? This is not a right way of coping with pressure or demands from some person, right? We need to be a lot more polite. Okay, I have something interesting here, which is a reflection connected to what we were talking about. This takes us a little bit away from culture, but these are questions that are good for our reflection, because I know this is a topic that will, get your interest. So language and culture is also communication and emotions. This is something I've been telling you ever since we started, right? Our seminar. So I'd like to have some answers to these questions over here. That this questions that I have on the screen. Let me know what you think, please, about them. So, what are emotions?
Well, this is a complicated topic because it deals more with psychology. But I've heard that emotions are a physical response, and it's generated not in the moment exactly, but it's a mixture of our beliefs and our culture also will provide us emotions. However, they say that an emotion only lasts for a few minutes. But what we have is a position towards life. It's like I cannot be mad at a person for more than 2 minutes. What I have is like a position towards this person and the emotions that it provides, or the emotions that I have where I feel whenever I'm in front of that situation. It's more like an attitude, more like a position towards life. So it's complicated.
So our ego reacts, you see, our self-esteem reacts to, some input we're receiving from our immediate environment. And that is what shapes the emotions we feel. Is this something normal? I think it is, but we cannot be ruled or governed by our emotions, because that is, maturity processes, going from being a child who is ruled by his or her emotions to someone who's more rational. You see, so this is something that it's, I think, part of becoming a professional. So always coming back to our population, student population, they need to learn this, and we have to direct them to help them in their maturity process. Emotions won't take us very far. That won't give you the opportunity to provide a good answer or a solution to a problem. So how does the brain process these emotions? Our brain is ignited by these emotions, and then we, if we're governed by emotions, we don't think anymore. So we let that take the seat, like the driver's seat, and then we don't think much about what we say. Okay, because this is what people get from you. One thing is what is boiling inside of you. Another thing is what you tell them. So we should not use language for communicating emotion directly. There must be a filter, right? As I was saying before, some level of censorship. So why do we sometimes feel like our intense emotions are controlling us? It's something biological, right? We have the hypothalamus, we have the amygdala, and we have all of these different parts of the brain which are set to help us survive. And that is why input will probably cause some not immediate reaction. That's more instinct than human thought or human cognitive processing of a situation. So we have to allow our thinking to take over. Okay, this is very important, and that's why probably people are rude or offensive or aggressive, or it's because it's not only ignorance, it's not learning that they cannot be governed by emotions. So is it possible to regulate emotions? Of course. This is one of the things we do at school, and at a university. We're still dealing with that because adolescents are moving on to a young adult stage of their development, and this requires control over emotions. And emotions is part of culture. Culture is emotions, is the ego. It's our position in society, our understanding of the context, and our position in a hierarchy. You could be a father, you could be a son, but sometimes you're a son and a father. The more roles you have, the better you should be able to understand the situation. Sometimes you need to follow in order to lead, and you need to lead in order to follow. And all of that is part of a dynamic, it's an ongoing and shifting dynamics, right? Shifting dynamics of human relationship. Very good. Okay, I'd like to know if you have any comment concerning this. I think we're at 9:30. And probably, as we agreed before, we could be having a break. But before we get to that, I'd like to know if you have any comments concerning this low context, high context. It's a very human topic. And the core topic here up to this point is politeness. Politeness. I'd like to know if you have any comments or anything you'd like to say, maybe based on your experiences. Whatever you say is very valuable, and I appreciate very much your comments. All right, Professor Marisol, if there is anything you'd like to
Okay,
bring up.
Oh, sorry, you said you were asking for comments, and I was
Sure.
going to say something about this.
Sure.
I was thinking about it, and I don't remember when I was studying, you know, any teacher talking about this, not even in any subject, like dealing with emotions and thinking before speaking and so on. Were just empty words, but they didn't give us the strategies or skills when I was studying at elementary school or high school, neither university level. So this is a topic that we should consider maybe to put into the curriculum, because there is no way to learn these themes. And well, I'm older now. I wish I could learn before the experience I have now, because all you were talking about it, I sometimes did it. I sometimes didn't know how to deal with. So thank you, Professor Cárdenas, because this
Hello, are you there? So
yes, I'm here.
yeah, your
Thank you a lot.
communication just cut off at the end. Just for your information. Thank
Yeah,
you very much. Thank you.
I know I have internet problems.
Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
I'm
So
back. Yeah,
I
everything
got your
you
point.
just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Cárdenas.
Sure, go ahead.
I would like to know, I would like you explain if exists a close relationship between emotion and communication. Please, let me know.
Absolutely. And I think the subject was just brought up is that we need to think before we speak, and we need to listen more. This is the core of very good communication. If we take the time to listen, we're going to avoid lots of misunderstandings, but we need to listen more. I think that's where we're failing at, essentially, is that it's more about what I want and what I have to say than what people are revealing to me or people are telling me. We lose sight of the matter that our image is not what we think about ourselves, is how people see us. Okay, the people see you in a way that has nothing to do with how you feel about yourself, but we lose track of this, and we think it's all about what I think and how I feel. So I let my emotions rule my decisions and rule my words and rule my behavior, and that affects human relations terribly. We need to understand that we need to try to see what people think about us, and it's all about perception. They say that generally people who win the presidency in elections are the ones who have a better perception from the electorate, and all of that comes not necessarily from serving or the population or anything like that, but being relatable to the electorate, letting them know that you are trying to connect with their needs and their problems, that you feel their problems as their problems as yours, as your own. And that's the part where communication kicks in. You see, it's very important to communicate in a way that builds rapport. So I hope that answers your inquiry or comment or question.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
You bet.
Well,
Mhm.
I think you requested your break at 9:30. It's 9:35.
All right. Yeah.
So, I guess we have to be back at 9:50?
9:50. All right. Yes.
Yeah. Well, my dear professors, we are going to have a break right now, and we are going to be back 10 to 10. All right. So see you in a while.
Thank you
Hello.
for joining back. Hope we have a good break. And could you please stop sharing, Suri? Okay, beautiful. Okay, now we pass on Professor Rafael.
So I think we're about to start or restart. Do you see my screen fine? Do you listen to me?
Right.
Perfectly.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. All right. So after that reflection on some important elements of communication, communication is, as you know, psychological or also, and it's emotional. We need to think more about culture. What is said versus what is meant. So a little bit more on indirectness. Many people think, for instance, when they talk to this people from European heritage, um, not to name Americans or Canadians alone, is that they think that they're not sincere, not very sincere, that they don't exactly tell you their intentions or what they mean. And the reason is because they're struggling generally with this assertiveness, contextual assertiveness. They're trying to make adjustments so that they don't sound too harsh or too direct. It's also a challenge for someone from our context, Latin America, for instance, to try to be more assertive and not so soft in terms of what we mean, or so indirect. So indirectness is important because it's linked to politeness. Okay, I'd like to emphasize on this again. And we're going to see some cases of low context indirectness a little more. Now, I have another video activity, but I have already learned, the hard way here, that it seems that it's probably not working like for a mass session like ours. So I'm going to also put that material in classroom for us to watch individually. Thank God we have such a resource that will enable us to try to understand these things a little further, or deal with it a little further, so that it sticks with us longer. So I'm going to be showing, I don't know if this is visible to you. Do you see this? Can you read this image?
Yes, it's better to summit.
Pardon?
Yes, I can read, but it's kind of blue or
It's kind of blurry, right? But is it readable anyway?
yeah.
To some extent, right? Okay, so that calms me, because we're gonna be talking about a little more of this indirectness, which is very cultural. Okay, very cultural. We need to know and understand that sometimes people mean things in a way that is not necessarily very concrete. So let's take a look at these examples. These are from it's a translation, Anglo translation guide, they call it. It's an interesting document. A British person may tell you, tell you something like, uh, you see in the middle we have a column, a yellow column. This is what on the left you have in green. I don't know if you see the color, but that's what British people say. In the middle is what they mean, and on the right is what other people understand. Sometimes this is a problem, because there is a lot of miscommunication here, but this is something that occurs naturally as part of that process of dealing with indirectness. As you know, the British, they're up north in Europe, and I think the Americans and the Canadians, as well as the Australians, they inherited such a way of communicating things. So take a look. For example, I hear what you say. It's like I know what you mean, or I know what you mean. All right, or that kind of thing. So what they mean really is, I disagree and do not want to discuss it further. Okay, this is what they mean really. It's like, we're ending this conversation here. What other people understand is, he accepts my point of view, but they're not aware that the communication is ended. You see? So this is part of their struggle for being indirect. I hear what you say, so I understand you, but what they really mean is, I get your point, but I don't want to discuss that any further. The person thinks, oh, everything is okay, accepts my point of view, but doesn't know that it's not to be discussed further. It's just a closed topic. Second example is, with the greatest respect. This is what you will listen to a person say. With the greatest respect, I want to tell you this, and this. Then what they mean really is, I think you're an idiot. Okay. So you see, there is this situation in which the person is not trying to offend you, but they really think it's like, I'm going to explain this to you, but I shouldn't be explaining it to you because you're an adult like me. So what others will understand is, like, he's listening to me. Okay, he's listening to me, but they don't get the point that this is said with some like, out of
Sarcasm.
politeness, somewhat. Yeah, there's an element of sarcasm over here, and being sarcastic is a way for them to deal with this indirectness. Let's take a look at the third case. They say, well, that's not bad. They may tell you that, like, that's not bad. So you present some work. Oh, that's not bad. What they really mean is, that's good. And then people may understand, like, that's poor, because they use the word not bad over there. That combination makes them think that everything is wrong, but it's a way of downgrading, telling you like they won't tell you directly, this is wonderful and excellent. You'll get probably something like that, probably depending on who you're talking to. From an American person could speak in those terms. Not that the British may not, but general they try to downgrade things. Another example is that is a very brave proposal. Okay. And this is ironic. There is irony here, because what they're trying to tell you is that this is you're insane. You're insane. What you're presenting is brave. So people will not have a very good idea of you when you open your mouth with this topic or ideas that you are planning to present. And people would think, I think I have courage, that they focus more on the positive part of the message, or what seems to be positive. But there is a lot of irony here. So it's like, this is a brave proposal, or you're brave. It's like you're going to be in trouble when you talk to people, they're going to be laughing. Probably that's what they mean, you see. So quite good. When you get a British person telling you quite good, culturally speaking, it's a bit disappointing. It's a bit disappointing. Okay. Because they're not telling you good, plain, or excellent. Quite good. It's like encouraging. But in reality, it's below expectations. And then the person, whoever listens, says, oh, this is quite good then. No, not quite. Not quite. There's a lot of irony and a lot of sarcasm. Thank you for the helping me out with the word. Sarcasm and irony. I would suggest this. So you're trying to take the person in a different situation, in a different direction. That means do it or be prepared to justify yourself. Okay. So what they mean is, you're planning to do this, but you need to provide some argument for your decision. Then what people will understand is, think about the idea, but do what you like. And I don't think this is exactly what they mean. And so it goes on. And I'm just going to bring in two more examples. I'm planning to post this in Classroom as well. So, for example, when a British person will tell you something like, very interesting, very interesting. This is encouraging, because it's really something pointless. It's like, that is clearly nonsense. Okay. And then what other people understand is they're impressed. They're impressed. Now, another one that I would like to bring in is like, well, I almost agree. I almost agree. When a person tells you that, what they really mean is, or a British person would mean is that I don't agree at all. So you haven't convinced me. You haven't convinced me. Okay. And then person may understand that he's not far from agreement. There, I think it's better understood, you see. But there is a lot of irony, there is a lot of sarcasm, and there is a lot of what people think, okay, these people are not honest, or not very direct, or they're not telling me the truth, and I don't really know exactly what they mean. And the reason is because they're dealing with this origin from a low low culture context, and communicating with people from other contexts who do not get things directly, you see. And probably the way they make the adjustments is conducive to some levels of miscommunication. So this Anglo-EU translation guide is important, because remember, the European Union, they're a lot more in contact with each other, as they're part of a single region of the world, economically bound by same currency, the euro, and some European Parliament, and so many other organizations which are shared and they have in common. So there's a podcast here that explains some information about that infographics, as I just showed you previously. We want you guys to sit down and listen to the podcast, and reflect on what these British podcasters say about British people communicating with other cultures, people from other contexts, how they try to be indirect, but sometimes they just don't, they fail to do so, or the cultural filters prevent in this cross-cultural communication situation, prevents the listeners from fully understanding their intentions. So it's always very challenging. It's very challenging. It takes experience and also talent, and being curious enough to ask further questions to get the idea of what a person is trying to tell you. So this is something I'm going to be offering some other way, because here I'm not going to present this. And I would also like you to get in touch, or see if you may touch base with this resource, teacherluke.co.uk. It's an interesting podcast that offers cultural information. Cultural information is offered through them. Okay. Is there anybody who want to say something, or was there a comment? So from today's session,
Professor,
yes, yes.
excuse me. Okay, I really, this is very sorry. A lot of sarcasm in that kind of words, how the people understand and what they are saying. But for example, if I am in a, a business meeting, for example, we are in a business meeting and they are trying to negotiate in something, and one person said, I almost agree about what is the answer if a person from Latin America or another region can say or can answer to continue the discussing something, or trying to make the negotiation to finish or get the contract. How how a, how how can the a person that is not involved in that culture, in that language style, how can a person can follow the process or follow the negotiation to make the connection? I don't know if I
Yeah,
am
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your question. So, in this case, if a person tells you something like that, instead of taking for granted that, for instance, what you say is like, I almost agree. I almost agree. I think that's the case you brought up, right? Was it the one that you mentioned? I almost agree.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. So instead of assuming that he's not far from agreement, it's important to listen more. Okay. That's the first thing someone with intercultural awareness needs to understand about these situations. You need to listen for more clues about what really is going on, and not make any assumptions that take for granted that you're okay. uh, it's important to realize that because of culture shock, a person may not feel like, okay, why should I care that much about what he or she thinks? We're not the same. Well, that creates additional barriers, you see, more barriers than necessary. So openness is generally listening. And if you don't get more input other than a simple I almost agree, then you should be asking some more questions in order to obtain more additional information. You could ask something like, okay, if you almost agree, does this look like anything you're familiar with, what I'm presenting to you? Or do you think my line of thought is a good one for you, considering like cultural differences, or could this be accepted as good in England? What could I do better that would be more effective for me to communicate the ideas that I'm trying to, you know, project? Or you need to ask more. And of course, if the person is genuinely interested, they're going to offer more information. That information is the gold, where the golden nuggets are. But the information is going to come out, it's not coming out directly at us. And people will not tell you directly what they mean, because there is a filter that they're using. Okay. So this is what I'd like to highlight very much about this Anglo-EU translation, guys, that people say things, but they censor themselves. They have this censorship, and that causes a level of misunderstanding that requires clarification. But clarification, you know, could be something like, not like, is that what you mean? Or do you mean this? No, what you could probably ask them is more information concerning some points that you feel could be troublesome, that could be too different. If the wording of some line or structure or some narrative, do you think this narrative is it coherent to you? Considering that in Latin America we say this and this, okay? Is this okay? Would it be acceptable if I say this instead? And then you're gonna get, you know, valuable information. But it's important to listen for the information and also ask. But we need to listen. We need to listen. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, Professor. Thank you so much.
Right, you bet. So, okay, we're gonna have two YouTube-based links accompanying Google Classroom. I'm gonna post them by the end of session, so that we recap and somewhat review and consolidate these concepts that we've been talking about. So, euphemisms. What is an euphemism? Is there anybody who has an idea what an euphemism is, or have you ever seen the word? Okay, an euphemism is a strategy. It's a strategy using communication. Mhm.
Okay.
Sure, Professor, go ahead.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a
Yes.
word that you use in order not in order to sound more polite, not too harsh.
Exactly, exactly. It's one of it's one part of that repertoire of strategies used to downgrade. Okay, since we don't want to come across as aggressive, what we do is we try to provide these other lines that will make our information a little bit less direct. So yeah, I have some text here, so let us try to follow through. I will not read to you. I will provide my input, you know, on this. So what they mean in most of books is that euphemisms is indirectness in its purest form, indirectness, okay? And you give them a hint, okay? It gives them a hint. So let's just look at the examples. So you have a female student showing up too much in the classroom. She's leggy and she's flashing her thighs and calves to you and all the male people in the classroom. Kind of uncomfortable for a man, right? Because you don't want to look, but you want to look anyway. You see? So, a person, instead of saying something to a lady, like put her on the spot, like, this is no way to come to class, right? That'll be very direct and harsh. Oh, well, there's a serious wardrobe malfunction around here. Okay. So you're giving them a hint that there is something wrong about the way they're carrying themselves in with regards to their clothing, the way they're dressed. Okay. So if she doesn't get it, then you could say something a little bit more
Friendly.
more effective, or maybe something that she'll catch better. So when I was a student, you tell them a story. I remember dressing well to do well, but it's pretty cold in this room now. Don't you agree? See? And then you frown and you let them know it's kind of cold in here. Huh? Okay. This is the way euphemisms work. You try to give people hints about something. Okay. So I don't know if this is your understanding of euphemisms, but theory links it to politeness. And I have politeness in bold print in this slide because it's a way to have a person, we don't want to offend them, really. We don't want to lower their esteem. We don't want to hurt them, but we have to make a point or make an observation that is valid for a reason, right? So, and here I have like, based on theory, how euphemisms work. People use different things, lots of substitutions. Instead of saying harsh words, you're going to use some more indirect terms, very directly into vocabulary. That's the lexical part. Now, discursive strategies, which is culture, remember, okay? Okay. When we say everything that relates to discursive practices, that's culture. Culturally speaking, people do something called mitigating apology expression. Okay? You mitigate and you kind of apologize. You don't want them uncomfortable. Or you do pseudo imperative expressions. It's like you are promoting some better behavior instead of telling them, like scolding them or telling them off or whatever they did wrong. And that involves different things like tagging, in the case of the tag questions, right? It's like confirming that we are on the same page and we have a mutual understanding of, for instance, essential rules of cohabitation or sharing. Hedging, that's also possible. Hedging is telling the person, okay, I get your point, but I disagree because of this, okay? So I see your point, but I have a different point, and I'm gonna let you know what that is. Some kinds of, you see, parts of speech, such as adverbs and phrases and sentences, those elements also help. And there's a lot of downtoning, that's downgrading. It's like lowering the message. You want to make your point, but you don't want your message to come across too direct. And also the use of conditionals, right? That's also possible. So there's some of these. Okay, now what I'm going to show you next is, you see some harsh language. And there is a good reason for this. This is the real world, okay? Real world number one. So if you see some profane words, I hope you're not offended. Okay, so I'm just apologizing just in case you get offended by some of the words that you'll see on the next slide. I have to bring the real thing. So here we go. So euphemisms take the form of substitution to prevent dealing with taboo topics. Okay, that's the thing. What is taboo? Well, anything sexual, right? Anything racial, anything that offends or tells a person that he or she is different, or he or she is trespassing, right? So some of these are sexual organs, sexual play, anything's scatological. Do you know what scatological ideas are? Scatological, do you know what that is? Are you familiar with the term scatological?
Well, not for me. It's first time, to be honest.
Well, anything, yeah, thank you for your honesty and
let me see.
participation. So anything scatological is anything that could be labeled as offensive for moral reasons. Okay, anything that goes against a person's values, right? If you're very religious and you are a person with a very strong Christian ethic, probably you'll find some of these words very offensive. So that's why exactly euphemisms come into play to prevent us from offending others concerning the case of maybe they're doing something that is not right or inappropriate. So we have there several words that refer to body parts. Instead of that, we say pubes, privates, or private parts. Our student population, they need to learn both ends. You see, the taboo words and also the euphemisms that could replace them, so that they know how to adjust what they have to say. Don't say things like there or down there, because that's not even correct. That's not an euphemism that's effective. So you have to label things by their names as private parts, pubes. So here we have some sexual act related vocabulary. We need to use the proper term. So copulate, bedroom activities. So everything is implied, you see, and the euphemism, it's a lexical one, very effective. See, some scatological terms like this one's related to body functions, you use the proper term, so defecate, okay? Okay. So some racial very harsh expressions should not be used. I included here Afro-descendant, but I don't even think that's a good one either, because in the past they use even others that I don't think they're very appropriate. So we're all fellow humans. So that type of description concerning body skin color, that's troublesome. It's taboo. So probably Afro-Panamanian, Afro-American, maybe like that, or someone of Afro ancestry. Other words that are very, very aggressive and offensive related to a woman, but end up being an occupation, because females who make a living out of these activities is a companion, right? Sex worker, companion. So others that label some different or diverse sexual orientations that must not be used. So instead of that, queer or same-sex attracted or diverse, any of those terms are better, okay, to avoid being offensive. Even disabled is a wrong word. Probably I've used it here, I don't know. So a person with a disability, that'll be the proper term. So it's very important. That's why euphemisms matter, because of politeness. And then it's important to get into what happens when you use discourse. Remember, discourse is culture. So when you mitigate, you do something pretty much like this example that I have on this slide. So I'm sorry to say, I'm afraid if you forget my asking or something like, I wouldn't like to appear too inquisitive, but I don't want to be overly curious or none of my business. But you see, we say these things and it's a preamble. It's like we are preparing the person for some bomb. You see, you're going to ask them on something that's kind of personal, but it's very good to prepare them, right? That way they won't feel offended or that you're trying to pry in their business or whatever. So they could be previous or subsequent, apologies for what they call in Brown and Levinson, conflictive elocutions, okay, that they serve the purpose of mitigating. Okay, you don't want to create confrontation, so you avoid this power of a being distasteful for a speech act, right? Asking questions sometimes is a difficult business. For this, we need to think always in terms of prior preparation for a question, right? Sometimes it's necessary. What else can we say concerning discursive strategies, which is culture? Remember, okay? Discourse, practices, this is culture. Serial imperative expressions. Take a look at these examples. So you tell a person, you want to tell them something because you have the air conditioning on. Shut the door, will you? Okay. That's a little bit bossy, I should tell you. But it's if you say shut the door, that's a command. It's a direct command that's offensive to another adult or to maybe any human being. So we shouldn't talk to people like that. Okay. So especially in intercultural communication. So we need to at least have some tag question over there that serves the purpose of ensuring there is this element of politeness. Hedging modal verbs also play an important role in adding this extra layer of politeness, so some kind of isolation that you don't want to hurt feelings. So may I ask you to put out that cigarette? Okay, it's just like you're trying to be nice and friendly. That could create a problem also, but you still, went on the polite side. And I would do it again. Okay, you're taking heed or whatever warning or advice or idea someone's communicating. Okay, these verbs soften an imposition, like put out your cigarette, do it again, or shut the door. This parts of speech serves a purpose. Do we create lessons in this direction with our students? Probably we do, but I think chances are most of us don't do it very often. And this is an important aspect of communication that tends to be overlooked by teachers. We don't blame our colleagues at all, not in the campus, neither in the interior. But the reality is that we're very much constrained by time. And if we had more time, we would worry much more about this. But remember, students are in the English department, or people study English because they expect to learn the language. So we have to point to the direction where they can go and learn and be better communicators in this language they're studying. So my takeaway here with euphemisms is parts of speech play an important role. How? Modals soften any direct command. Okay. And there is also tag questions. This is what tag questions really do. So you don't study tag questions only as some aspect of grammar for grammar 210 or grammar 310A, B or whatever. So we must also include these other cultural elements, cultural roles of the tag question. Tag questions will soften some command by, establishing some agreement. Now, other discursive practices. So what about adverbs and phrases and sentences? In general, they are there to assist us in taking things, downgrading things. So could you possibly help me? So it's like you're not telling this person that there's something wrong about their attitude. Is that what you're actually is begging? You're begging more than commanding. So you're begging for help, so that you want their involvement. Okay, some of these adverbs in the middle of questions or for requests, they do that. A lot of what they say in theory about phrases is that they're formulaic phrases. Take a look, for instance, if by chance, using the middle of this question, I mean, of this sentence. So I need to know if by chance you could keep an eye on my house during my absence. So it's a way to let the person know that you are not commanding them, that you are not bossy, that you are friendly. So also very friendly is conditional sentences. So if I were you, I would take my mom to the hospital. So you're not telling them to take your mom to the hospital, you're irresponsible or something like that. So if I were you, so if I were in your position, so I wouldn't do that if I were you. So if I were you, it's like a way to tell a person not to do something that could create some difficulty. So all of this is concerning politeness. Now, going into sarcasm and irony, because remember we were talking about this before. One thing is what people mean, another thing is what they say, and another thing is what the listener gets. So look at this. An overuse of mitigation, it's very extremely indirect, and then people will not like it because the message is not clear. Take a look. So with all due respect, put out your cigarette if you don't mind. So you don't want to tell them like, put out your cigarette, right? So you're telling them something like, if put out your if with all due respect, okay? Then also with all due respect, there's some sarcasm over there, So I don't know if I have to respect you, or I don't know if you respect me, but I have to tell you this. Then if you are, like too elaborate in that element of politeness, it's like, would you mind if I ask you to try to smoke somewhere else? That's like pointless, okay? It could create a person not to care about what you're telling them. Then it's important to talk about phrase. This is a little bit of psychology, right? So some of you told me that there's some psychological elements here, of course, because we're dealing with identity. Identity, self-image, self-esteem, all of these are constructs, even politeness, that are connected to our ego. And the human ego is what we think about ourselves, or who we think we are, and our position in society. So face theory, according to Goffman, it's a key element in the analysis of conversation. Face is self-image, right? There is positive and negative face, okay? It's two-dimensional. Positive faces, the individuals desire to be regarded positively. So as an instructor, as a professor, the way you carry yourself is for you essentially to command respect, because of your role in the relationship at the workplace, you deserve it, and you do what you can in order to earn it. Negative faces, you desire also to be autonomous and make your own decisions. So this is all directing to the creation of an identity. Your identity as a professor, your identity as a student, your identity as a group member of an organization. All of this is a part of it. So there are responsibilities, and there's also freedoms that a person is entitled to. And the bottom line thing is respect. Impoliteness is bypassed by euphemisms, which, as you see here, build a balanced relationship between face, and we could label face as having a positive face and having some elements of politeness that show that you have an education, you're an educated human being, or someone that people may talk to, okay? What are the topics that euphemisms will help us communicate? here they are. And there's a good reason why these topics are euphemized. It's because they're hard to deal with, right? These are topics people don't talk about because probably they may affect our identity as a human being. So here we include double speak. It's like saying things that you don't want to say, but you say it in some other way, and being politically correct. Also, you don't want to offend anybody, but you have your own ideas because of your identity, because of who you are. There's a lot of death and sickness euphemisms, sex, of course, age. You don't want to discriminate anybody because of their age, because of either they're too young, maybe because they're too old. But we get this situation in which older generational elderly citizens criticize the younger generations, and then everybody criticizes the older or the elderly. So it's a problem. And physical complexion now, we talk about body shaming, right? We don't want to offend people's esteem. So examples of politically correct terms, some examples here. Here they are for you. Okay? So look at blind, visually challenged, or crippled, differently abled. Okay. Some terms for that ridicule, political correctness. So in the lower box, what we have is irony and sarcasm. These are not. This is hypocrisy. Okay. At the top box, there is authentic use of euphemisms. At the bottom, they're all hypocritically used to like refer to a person, but in a society that has a lot of imposed or self-imposed censorship, there is an overuse sometimes, and this is sometimes ridiculed, just ridiculed. So take a look, like gravitationally challenged for a fat person. So you didn't even use the word fat, right? So how could you, for example, provide an euphemism, some other for someone who's retarded? Could you think of another one that's not mentally challenged or having learning difficulties? What else could you use instead? For this strong word like retarded, what could you say instead? That is not, of course, on the slide.
It depends on the situation, because they used to say that people with Down syndrome are retarded, but that's not accurate. They just have a syndrome.
So yeah, so if in order to refer to them, what other repertoire would you use, or if there is any other expression you could think of to refer to someone with a condition?
Slow.
Well, that's hard. Wow, that's a blow to the face. Slow. That's not euphemized. Something else, please.
Yeah. How about feeble-minded?
Probably, but that's still offensive. Feebles, too hard.
Mentally retarded?
That's extremely offensive. That can get you in trouble very quickly.
I mean, like at the end, I think people are not, you should not be labeled by one condition they have. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. It's the same thing with race, but we need to describe a person sometimes. Okay, that's why we need the euphemisms, because someone may deliberately ask you, like, what is her her
Yeah, but
condition.
I would
his
disagree
condition.
with that. Sorry, I would disagree with that we don't need to describe people anymore.
Well, I understand what you mean. I know what you mean. Mhm. Go on, please.
How about someone with special needs?
Okay. Someone with special needs, or he's diverse.
A
Okay, he's
particular
diverse.
limitation,
Pardon?
particular limitation, depending on the condition of each person. Particular
Okay,
limitation.
okay. So you could say something like he's what, particular, you said?
And yes, because it's a general term, they just, last week I was in a seminar about how to treat students with autism, some specific conditions. And they use the term particular limitation if you don't know a specific condition or the effective diagnosis of that person.
Okay. So we could say something like particular education population, you see? And then if you need to explain that further, then you'll specify diverse person with some special need, undetermined because of lack of diagnostic, something like that. But that description could very easily go into a report
Excuse me.
that could be explained to a person or someone without feeling like you are offending. Yes, you want to say something else? Go ahead.
Professor, excuse me, Ana Burgos here. Uh, well, sometimes we use the word person with special abilities, okay, in Spanish. And but I was listening an interview for one of the person in charge in the department, in this special department from the government, and they say the same persons say that about the this topic, and they say they are not superheroes, okay, they are a person with a disability. Okay, it is the word, and they don't want to be descriptive, or the people provide them a description that it's not the correct word. They prefer the name, the correct name they use is a person with a disability, not disabled person with a disability.
Very
It
good.
is very interesting because they understand that position, that situation, but sometimes we around them don't understand some things, and we are trying to make or use some words to make sense in the situation. And no, they don't want that the people, or they produce um oh, we should take care of you. No, they want to feel empowered in the environmental they are, okay, in any kind of environment they are. Thanks.
Very good, very good. I appreciate very much that you brought this up. Of course, all of these terms, what they want to do is, you know, rise this population up, make them visible. You want to make them all visible, and because society tends to not look at them or try to play down their role in society, and the reality is that they're fellow human beings. That they exist, they work, they study, and many of them attend the University of Panama, just to bring the subject to our context. I've had quite a few. I had one of those members of a population, specific population, in my classroom. I think that was probably a semester or two ago. And well, it is normal. And it's a person with a disability. That is right. However, there may be some alternate forms, such as diverse and so forth, because we want to euphemize the topic, right? Some others think, for example, taking other cases like a crippled person, so differently able. Okay, this is not a disability that the person was born with. person probably acquired it later in life by accident or whatever. So differently abled, that could be useful. Same as look at that. So instead of overweight, no? Better than telling person who's you're fat or any other word like chubby, whatever. None of those is correct, right? Very good. So some euphemisms for death and dying. I just brought up some of the at a lexical level because it's a good thing to know and keep in mind that they exist. So some of them are offensive. Some of them are by offensive I mean the register varies, right? The register is diverse. The register. By that I mean the level of formality in the way we speak. If it's something colloquial, many of them are pretty colloquial and very informal, and they may end up probably in the vulgar end. But there is also then the proper, more appropriate, and higher register formal forms, right? Something like the person is resting in peace. That could be labeled as probably more formal than telling like he's wearing a toe tag, sorry. He's wearing a toe tag. That's like person is bagged in a black, it's in a black bag. That's extremely vulgar and offensive, right? Well, kick the bucket. We don't say that in the formal scenario. But these are the different forms people refer to death. Death is a serious topic, but many people tend to disregard it or downplay it altogether because it's such a hard topic that they don't want to take it seriously until it's the time, right? Okay, here we go. Some euphemisms for sex is same thing happens. The register is diverse, so very low register, vulgar. They're pretty common. Some others are easier to deal with. Like for example, we think they're making babies. Okay, probably that's not as vulgar as saying something like in and out. That's too much, right? But this is what people say. I brought in because I speak the truth, and I bring in examples from real life examples, right? All of these. We're not going to spend time reading all of this, but it's a good thing that you guys bear this in mind. Going back to politeness, okay, I should tell you that we don't say many things directly, okay? Not all the time, because you don't want to offend people. You don't want them to think, ill or badly about you. So have you had a chance to look over the menu? The waitress asks at the beginning of a meal, what do you want? Would be, of course, too blunt. Have you had a chance to look at the menu? I'll put the check here on the table for whenever you're ready. At the end, she'll never tell you like you need to pay because chances are they may not get a tip in Panama, for example. But politeness is an important topic, important construct. Hedging. Hedging is going in the direction of a person to show some probably solidarity or understanding, but then you tell them they have an opposite view also and that they should consider a different view or perspective. So I'd really like to come to the party on Saturday, but I'm not sure if I can, right? That means I won't be there. Okay? I won't be there. So, because you are telling them that you appreciate the invitation, but you are, engaged in some other activity, probably. So this is a good case. Probably the person expects you to say yes or no, but you have to give a hedge here. Otherwise, people may not invite you anymore, right? The apology or pseudo apology. This is another strategy. So I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is miserable. Okay, you're describing a situation, but you're also justifying the situation, your fault or your accident or whatever. Minor transgressions they refer to. Okay, and then a person out of sympathy may tell you something. It's okay, it's not your fault or whatever. Some requests, okay, also require us to use some level of politeness. This is very, very wordy, so I'm going to skip it. Also, terms of address. You see, Miss, Ma'am, Mr., Sir, okay. Until a person, unless a person doesn't feel comfortable. Now, I learned over here that lady is not such a good term because it's kind of aggressive. If you tell lady, they may take it offensively because you are pointing to a condition by according to English culture that's not necessarily, or in American culture it's not say ma'am, um excuse me, but don't label a person or female subject as a lady because that could be taken as offensive. Neither is a good idea to call anybody boy. Okay, these are kind of pejorative. Okay, in the case of lady, you're telling a woman that she's a lesser person, lesser than a man. Okay, so lady. And boy is telling a man that he's not a man. So that's even worse. And it has a racial undertone also. So all of this. So what do they advise? That if you have to refer to somebody, say girl. Okay, girl. Girl. It's a lot better. Not offensive or labeling. Girl. And in the example here, it's interesting that they say there may even be cases or instances of people being 80 years old, and it's okay to talk about them as the girl. Okay, a girl came over here with a ticket, and who was the girl? Well, an elderly woman, not lady, because we need to get out of our minds. Lady is a labeled, or it's a loaded term in American English mainly. Okay. I'd like to know if you have any questions concerning politeness. Questions about politeness. Is there, if there is anything you'd like to mention or comment on?
Professor, okay, it is, I don't know if it is strange question, but I had worked in the tourism area. And well, what happened when we use the word sir and ma'am? But nowadays, this kind of terms, how can I explain this? Um, Sometimes when you were talking about the euphemism, what kind of words that we shouldn't use, what happens if the person don't feel or don't see has male or female, and we are using this expression because it is what we are looking, what we are seeing.
Yeah, if a
I don't know.
person is, if a person is has a different sexual orientation, is that what you mean?
Yes, but we receive a person, or for example, we are in a touristic area and we see a person and we say, "Oh, hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. Welcome." But the person, okay, has different sexual orientation, and it could be a, well, what you are telling me in that way, and it could produce probably um misunderstanding. Yeah, but I am calling the person as I am looking them.
Mhm.
What kind of
Okay.
words can we use in this kind of environment in tourism?
Well,
For probably by phone.
mhm. Yeah, this is a difficult situation. Um, what you need to do is avoid giving them a title. Um, you know, just something like, "Excuse me, are you into this, or will you like this?" If you have to talk to them several times, then you'll go by their name. That should be the the thing to do, the most appropriate thing to do in order to avoid those kinds of situations, and making them feel like you're labeling them, because maybe they're gonna feel like labeled, that they have to be either a man or a woman. You don't want that. So we have to avoid that. I think we should go by name if it's necessary, of course, because we don't know how many times you may have to talk to this person. So go by the name instead. That's what I would do. Donald or whatever. All right. Idioms and phrasal verbs. Okay. What is the difference between idioms and phrasal verbs? I'd like to know if you have ever considered that there may be a difference between these two. Okay. So, somebody please tell me, what is the difference between idioms and phrasal verbs?
Well, I think the idioms are kind of metaphorical expressions. If I have to explain that, it is a product of culture also. So they don't have like you cannot tell what an idiom is just by the words you see there. Same as in our language, and I always when I talk about this in class, I usually talk first about some idioms that we use in Panama specifically, and I always say that I cannot understand maybe idioms in other Spanish-speaking cultures because I need the reference, While in the phrasal, in the verbal phrases, we kind of have a clue by the main verb. It's just another preposition or something that makes the difference in meaning. No?
Yeah. The thing is this, it's not labeled anywhere, but the way I see it is that idioms belong to spoken grammar. Spoken grammar.
Actually, idioms are figurative. I mean, they have figurative meaning that cannot be deduced, from the literal interpretation of whatever we're saying. And what we classify as phrasal verbs is the combination of a verb with an adverb or a preposition that create a new meaning, like give up and other, get out, things like that. They create, if I say get up, I'm saying something else. But if I say get out, I'm saying something else. So that's the phrasal verb. It's the combination of verb with another or a preposition. And an idiom is an expression that gives you figurative language. That's why I understand what Professor Lucy says. It is actually difficult to say what an idiom is. But there are common idioms that in the language they use, and we have to learn them.
Good. So what we need to explain and we need to also process is that they belong to two different domains, okay? We were talking about the phonological sentence and the grammatical sentence. Well, the same thing happens here. We have the spoken grammar, structures, and phrasal verbs belong to written grammar. They belong to a different category. Phrasal verbs are more things that you write, but they are informal. So it creates a confusion because you don't write using idiomatic expressions, but they're, of course, informal forms of communicating, but they belong more to what you could probably write than what you would probably say. That people tend to use when you write formally, instead of saying get out, you say depart or leave instead, right? Or come in, you say enter, or you write enter, whatever. So what happens with phrasal verbs is that they they have different levels or registers, right? These ideas generally allow you some more freedom. But in the case of idioms, they're completely into what we know as spoken grammar. This is the kind of grammar that you'll use only for communicating ideas as you talk to a person about something that is in common, which is culture generally. So we see some examples here, spill the beans, and that's something, this is an expression that you will never write unless you are reporting what some other people said. In general, this is what you say when you are talking to somebody, when you are speaking to with another human being. So that's the situation. So they're similar, but they all kind of belong to structured or formulaic forms of language use. And what Professor Lucy also said is very valuable, that they vary across cultures. It's so true. We have the instance of American and British. They have a completely different list of idiomatic expressions. And that's because of context and history. So as we see here, a phrasal verb is a verb combined with a particle, right? Okay. It stays closer to literal meaning, okay? Idioms do not do that. Idioms, they just go completely in the air. It's like something else. And it's something that you will not probably write ever. Okay. You could probably write what a phrasal verb is or say something similar, but not the case of idioms. Idioms are highly contextualized. And we see some examples here, say turn on, look after, give up, okay? Phrasal verbs are more grammatically oriented, common in spoken and in informal English. As we said, the register is the main factor among phrasal verbs. Instead of saying go in, you say enter, right? That's a lot more formal. You meant the same, but you are doing this orally, right? So, what is the difference? A little more about difference, okay? You see, here we have idioms, phrasal verbs, and we have slang. Slang is the most colloquial and lowest in terms of formality, talking about register, right? Not that idioms are formal, but they belong to a category where this formulaic form, because it's a formula, it's something that people say when they mean something that's like very not concrete, and it's like shared, but phrasal verbs describe a little better, but they're informal. Most of the time, they're going to fall on the informal end. And then the slang, it's like the lowest level, informality, it's like extremely, extremely informal, colloquial. Sometimes it could even be vulgar because it's street language. It's like street talk, right? Because we know there are different levels. So, okay, I would like to practice here with you, and I'd like you to help me out determine what we're using in each one of these cases, right? We have idioms, phrasal verbs, and slang. So let's see how it goes. Yeah, I'm starting from a number 2 here, where we say he finally gave up on the project. What's that gave up?
Phrasal.
Very good. Thank you. And what about that party was soft as Shane?
That's idiomatic.
Thank you. She let the cat out of the bag.
That's also
I think
idiomatic.
that's an idiom.
Right. What about I need to look after my little brother tonight?
Look after sounds like a phrasal.
Phrasal.
Okay. What about I hit the sack early last night?
An idiom.
Mm-hmm. What about this new song is fire?
Fire slang.
Okay. Can you turn down the volume?
It's an idiom.
It's a phrasal.
A phrasal.
Okay. What about he's under the weather today?
An idiom.
Yes, idiomatic, yes.
Don't freak out. Everything's fine.
It's a phrase.
Idiom.
Okay. What about the kids made up the after the argument?
A phrasal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me see. Okay. I think we got the most okay. As you see, for a phrasal to be considered as such, there must be 2 components. And that is the case, for instance, in number 2. Maybe number 5, of course, you said that too. Number 8 also, and number 10, and then number 11. The rest of them fall either under the categories of idiom or slang. And I think a strong candidate for slang, I think it's probably the only one, it's number 7, because it's like very, very structured and specific. The rest of them, I think, hit the sack and let the cat out of a bag and all those, like being under the weather. Those are idiomatic expressions. Good. So I would like you to provide for me one original example of each, if you could tell me that. Please. Well, I could probably include, well, provide an example of like, we have to keep up with the Jonas's and paint the house this December. Okay. Okay. Well, we're painting the house because we're trying to keep up with the Jonases. So I'm using keep up with and the Jonases, then that's an idiomatic expression altogether because they always go as a formula. It's a formulaic phrase, idiomatic. What about phrasal verb? Could you think of an example?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
We need an example of phrasal verb.
Go on.
Mhm. Yeah, and a sentence in which that would fit also, please.
How about keep up with the good work?
Okay. Okay. Very good. That'll not be a traditional sentence, but this is an excellent example. Keep up with the good work. Yeah. What about slang?
Um,
Chill.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Just chill.
Yeah, that's something that my son says to me every time. Like, please chill.
All right. So yeah, these kind of things. As you see, what we need to do is expose our student population to more of this because it's out there, and they need to reflect on his history and culture, and we have some common here, some common examples, right? Okay, snug as a bug in a rug. Okay. Okay, and so on. I think that's probably less known. Hit the sack, I think, is pretty familiar. Go to extra mile, can cat got your tongue. These kinds of things that people need to study more. So yeah, recapping
like
and wrapping up. Yes.
like I am chilling at home today.
Sorry, could
I
you
am
repeat that
chilling
again?
at I am chilling at home today. I am
Okay.
feeling at home.
Okay, I'm feeling at home. Okay, that could be the
Chilling.
case. What was that? An idiom or a
I like
slang?
it's relaxing. Chilling is like relaxing.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that
So
contribution. Thank you.
How
Good.
about pay $3 for the Coke?
$3 for a Coke. Okay. what exactly, what is the context of that expression? What exactly?
Find a refreshment or something.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, you see, there is this abundance of expressions that we should never feel like, well, I don't have any content to teach. So we always have lots to teach. And the thing is, we have to work less, you know, and have students work more. They are the ones who need to gain access to all of this, or they need to unlock these areas which are largely unknown and probably ignored. They need this. They need this background also. So they reflect about the language they're studying. Essentially, that's part of our mission. Okay. Essentially, and wrapping up on idioms, historical, cultural, and everyday life functions, of idiomatic expressions play an important role in helping students gain more background. Everybody should, always go for them. All of these expressions, they have a history and they have a value, and there way too many of them, and they could be grouped by topics. And this is an important part of knowing a language, especially the spoken grammar elements that play such an important role. So they're present in the curriculum of any course, and they essentially provide belonging and creativity, and they're not just phrases, they're more like cultural artifacts. That's their role. Okay. I'm moving a little bit further today than compared to yesterday because we're covering more topics. This is another important topic that I would like to consider here. Humor. Do you think humor plays an important role in communication? Of course. Yesterday we were saying that it plays a role of creating rapport. It establishes communication at a different level that's more personal, that it makes everybody more friendly than anything, as long as the humor is a good directed, it's well directed. It's a good type of humor, not a prank, nothing that affects anybody's situation or identity, right? Now, probably I'll post this also. It's a free resource for humor based on American accent varieties. So you see, this is a series in YouTube that's for you to know that English inside the United States, because that's the case that's mostly presented internationally, it varies very much by region, and everybody has a different accent, has a different within the limitations of the use of English as an educated variety, standard American English. There's so much variety, and this has a lot to do with culture. There is a series of videos here that explains the topic. I was planning to present it, but I'm not going to do so. And I'm probably replacing one of the prior ones for this activity with the link for you to think about, terms of some terms that people use in everyday conversation. So it's like hillbilly or a southern accent. Many of them are racial biased expressions, but that's part of culture. That's the way people speak. Okay, so we need to probably look at this and see what to do concerning them. Okay, I also brought a localized chapter of an important series, TV series, in this case, well, platform series right now, called The Office. Okay, the localization is what I mean by this is that the actors for the British version were British people, and the humor used for a British audience was, of course, altered, and they used the same or similar jokes in the American version, but they did it adjusting themselves to that situation. These are things that you need to look at in order for you to reflect on what they say. So I'm offering here links for us to take the time necessary to look at the same show, one from BBC Studios, the other one, The Office from American American TV, and well, widely offered through platforms nowadays. The Office. Unfortunately, things are not in my favor right now concerning video, but I already decided that it's not worth the effort of trying to present this because it's going to take too long and make probably this audience uneasy, because we don't want that, right? We want to flow. And given that we are hitting the 12 o'clock line in a while, I will not do it. Okay, I will not try to project this. Okay, The Office. What is it? In case you've never watched a chapter of it, it's a American mockumentary sitcom. It's a situation comedy, and mockumentary is not a documentary of something that is based on reality, but it's more like a simulation of a real situation inside an office. In the American version, that follows everyday lives of office employees, okay, of a fictional company called Dunder Mifflin, okay, in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Okay? Series is an adaptation of a British show of the same name, and it has an interesting storytelling and very good formatting, using like simulation of real life and all kinds of characters. It's very, very funny, both the British and the American one. So it's a good thing for you to reflect on what humor is like. I'm going to get ahead and give you some hints. So what is American humor like? It's self-deprecating. It's ironic, uses understatements, uses wordplay and fun. Self-deprecating mean that people make fun of themselves, something that is a taboo in Latin America, for example. People here don't find funny that they make fun of them, or people make fun of themselves. They don't do that. Everybody wants to be taken very seriously. Don't misunderstand me and think that over there in North America it's not like that. Yes, but people also make fun of themselves because it's a way of being humble. It's a way of humbling yourself and being more relatable. It's like making fun of situations you go through, and things people say, and things that, solutions people find which are creative. So people make fun of themselves. It's ironic because also people don't mean exactly or directly what they mean. They either exaggerate something or flip it around and say it some other way, or try to compare it to something, and that creates an irony. And the more ironic it is, the more laughable and more relatable it is. There's an understatements also. So that's like second talk. You mean other things, and well, you're telling a person a story, but what you really mean is something else. And probably the person is not prepared. They may not get the joke, okay, or may not get this kind of humor. And many people complain that sitcoms have a lot of these hidden messages, and that's why you have this background laugher during the show, like to tell you that there was a joke. Probably you didn't get the joke, but there is this laugher that indicates like something important was said concerning some topic or some situation, that there is and some people reject that altogether. They don't think authentic. I really don't mind much about it, but some people reject it. That's also widely used in Latin American shows. People learned the same thing and they laugh hard, like for the watchers, TV watchers or audiences, to get that there was a joke said, right? The joke is evident and there's this background laughter. Wordplay and fun. Well, some inappropriate behavior is welcome. Uh, Many of these entertainers use words inappropriately on purpose. They create this tension in conversation and some fun, like using language creatively or doing unexpected things. All of that is a part of humor. Okay, here we have some examples, right? So of self-deprecating comments. So it's like, remember, making fun of ourselves. It's like not taking ourselves so seriously. So I was going to make a smart joke, but then I remembered who I am and decided to play it safe. Okay, so it's like you're very much aware of who you are. You should be at all times, right? Not only when you're going to make fun of yourself or something like that. So there's this funny element here that needs our attention. Okay, it's okay to make fun of ourselves. So another example, we have, I bring a lot to the table, mostly snacks and unnecessary emails. Right? Someone could say things that are not necessary. Emails are necessary, but when you say that they're not necessary, second to snacks is that fun is more important than work. That's what you're trying to say, and you should not take things too seriously, work too seriously. Third example, say, I studied really hard for this test. Unfortunately, it was the wrong subject. It's like you got everything wrong from the start. You didn't even know what the test was about. So how come you studied? You know, so you need first to get organized in order to do things the right way. So you're playing down, or this is the joke or the funny element. You are saying something that's nonsense. It's incoherent. Some irony also. So a lot of irony. Irony is a hard element to come by, but we need to tell our students, tell me a joke, tell me a joke. And they have to learn some jokes. It's important. That's important, right? So I love how our team building exercise is just a meeting where we all sit quietly and wish we were home, right? Doesn't mean what it's supposed to mean. He's talking about team building, and then he ends up talking about being quiet and not doing anything. That doesn't make any sense. You see, it's the opposite. So something like technology has really improved our lives. I can now ignore people in 6 different apps instead of just one. So person's not using technology at all. Okay. Doesn't make any sense. Another one, I post inspirational quotes daily to remind everyone how well adjusted I pretend to be. So there is no adjustment at all. Person's just pretending. So, and admitting to this is ironic, right? Understatements, it's like second talk or listening or in between the lines, or so well, that didn't go exactly as planned, when something goes wrong. So yeah, that was not my favorite flavor. So it's like I'm trying to tell you, I really like it. It went so well, so wrong. Ice cream flavor selection. Or another, like, after staying up all night working, you could say sometimes I've had slightly more restful nights. Okay, so it's like you didn't rest much. Okay, right? You're trying to tell person that you're trying to get by. Some wordplay and fun, right? More of that. Time flies like an arrow, right? Fruit flies like a banana, right? You know, fruit don't fly. So what is all this about? Nonsense, you see? It's funny. So I told my friend she was drawing her eyebrows too high. So she looked surprised. It's like when, you know, female women put on makeup, you cannot have your eyebrows too high because maybe you're gonna be always surprised. And that's very funny, right? Because wearing makeup is not you know, doing anything like that. Is for you to look more attractive, but not for you to look funny. So this is a joke. So I'm reading a book on anti-gravity. It's impossible to put it down. It's a joke, you see. You're relating your reading habit to some theory that you read, right? Okay. And then I have some questions, but those are related to the links comparing American and British humor, which I have to make a selection of what I will ask you. Of course, I will not post all of these questions because probably that's going to be too much for a simple task. And we don't want you to spend 2 hours watching videos and then answering questions based on this video. So maybe I'll just include one, okay? Okay. Speech. Okay, I have a question about humor. Are you comfortable with American or English humor? Do you think humor plays a part in culture?
Mr. Cardenas. Hello, can you hear me?
Sure, just loud and clear. Yes.
Listen, I have many times tried to understand American, especially when they try to be humorous. When they tell you a joke, they laugh, but we're not accustomed to their culture, to their tradition. It's difficult for us to understand the meaning of their jokes. In other words, some of them doesn't make any sense for me and for many other people. You have to understand the context and the meaning of the joke so you can get the message. That's my opinion.
So true. This is true. And the situation we have is humor in our context in Spanish is different. We cater to other things. We make fun of different situations. Many jokes are related to people's habits. It's more like a story. But over there, there's always this unexpectedness, and maybe this wordplay or the irony. And as you said, is so true that it's hard for a person who doesn't have any idea about the context. So what should you tell your students? We have to tell our students that, okay, you cannot tell me that you don't like TV, okay? First of all, if someone tells you that they don't like TV, they're creating a problem for themselves and for everybody else because they are expected to be exposed to humor. And there is a lot of it around us, but it's coming through those means, you know, TV platforms, etc. And it's important for them to watch their TV in English. Okay, this is some policy that we need to enforce and demand from students to watch chapters of some comedies, some sitcoms, for them to be exposed to something else that they cannot think, they should not assume that Latin American humor is the world humor. World humor is diverse. Okay, it's like diverse, and they need to be more open to different forms of humor, self-deprecating, ironic, maybe unexpected, playful, you know, sometimes not saying anything is part of humor. Gestures, all of that plays a role. So, can we bring that in the classroom? Of course. We could bring in you know, a chapter, maybe a chunk of one of those sitcoms for analysis. For analysis, of course, is this work? Of course, it is. It is work, or additional work. But I should tell you that this is material for research, because it's always worth it to take the time for people to have them compare, you know, for students to compare how humor is characterized in different cultures or across cultures. What is funny? What is not so funny about this? Okay, and probably in that way, they're gonna have a more open, you know, mind concerning certain shows. Many people reject entertainment that doesn't come from some specific genres, and they just don't enjoy. Should we help them enjoy? I think so. That's part of our mission, to help them enjoy what is available, right? I don't know if you have another comment. Okay, we need to talk about speech acts, okay? Speech acts is what we say, okay, and how we say it, okay? It's an utterance that performs a function in communication, right? We were talking about emotions in communication before, but even, you know, a deeper reason for saying something is a purpose. There must be a purpose, you see, purpose. This philosophy of language topic was developed by Austin and Searle. It's a common tandem that you will discover behind speech act theory. This is not new. This is from the 60s. And they have, what they did is that they classified utterances according to some specific categories, right? Or acts, so to speak. Locutionary, elocutionary, and perlocutionary. Okay? So literal meaning is it's called in here. I say what I feel. Elocutionary is I have a purpose. Like could you please close the window? It's like asking for someone to close the window. Perlocutionary is that the listener reacts to that, and the listener proceeds and sure, I'll close it for you, no problem, and then the person performs the action. So there's these three, elements, is what the person says, the intention, and the reaction on the counterpart or the speaking party. So Searle took this a little bit further than this general classification of locutionary, elocutionary, and perlocutionary, and more into elocutionary, which is purpose-oriented types, right? Into 5 basic essential categories. We have the assertives, right? Telling an idea which is set and established, like the Earth orbits the sun. Directives is like asking for something, like please open the window. A commissive, it's like asking for future activity to occur, like I'll help you move tomorrow. Expressive, I'm sorry for your loss, sorry. It's like I'm expressing my sympathy. Declaration, like you are hereby fired, you're fired, right? Now, one of the categories of Austin and Searle's speech act theory, it has a lot to do with purpose, as I was telling you before. Invitations is an important area of speech act theory. Invitations in American English, which is because it's a very wide topic. I'm going to focus here on American English because this is what we, try to teach in our context, in our classes. In order to invite a person, we have to prepare them for the question, as we did before, some prior phrase or something we say before, in order not to be rejected. Because the purpose of inviting someone is not to have someone tell us no. So what we do is that we pre-invite them. Okay, so a yes is a preferred response from our interlocutor. This preferred, is a no. A preferred response is a yes. So what we do is instead of jumping and telling you like I have a party tomorrow. No. So before that, I tell the person like, are you doing anything on Friday evening? Okay. That's asking the person like I'm about to propose to you something, or are you busy tonight? Okay, this is the way invitations should go. You prepare the person, you prepare the ground before you move on, right? So we have several instances here of pre-invitations. So hey, what are you up to tonight? Okay, right? We don't know what the person is gonna say. Probably they're gonna propose to you instead. They get ahead of you. You never know, but you need to prepare the person. You pre-invite them. So, and where does this come from? This comes from purpose. Purpose. Speech acts is all about purpose. That's why we talked before about locutionary, elocutionary, and perlocutionary acts. And you need to think about the listener and the response the person is going to give you. And as I was telling you before, Austin developed this further into assertives, commissives, and expressives and declaratives and so on, as a way for people to study a discourse more specifically, what we call now discourse analysis or conversation analysis, which a transcription is created out of what people say in order to break down these different elements. So some other pre-invitation. So if you're going to invite a person, so what are your plans for the weekend, right? And then someone's going to tell me such and such and such, like Natalie is saying over here. And then very respectfully, probably the man doesn't want to come across as pushy or anything. It's so cool. Well, so what if I ask you to get lunch or coffee sometime? Sure, that'd be fun. But the person is not inviting her, or in this case, Eric, is not inviting Natalie for the weekend, okay? Because he's not agreeing with her to meet at any time, anywhere. So this is just like leaving the door open. Sometimes people do these things out of courtesy, or probably he's trying to test the ground, see if he stands a chance on dating Natalie, okay? So what is it that people respond to pre-invitations? As we said before, there are preferred and dispreferred responses. Everything preferred is a yes that moves in our direction or the direction of the inviter, the person who invites, right? So we have some examples over here, and there's some strategies that people use inadvertently. They probably don't know that they're doing this, but they do. So go ahead. There's the go ahead answer, or the blocking or the hedging. Okay, the go ahead is a yes, full yes. The blocking is a full no, and the hedging is yes, but there is this situation, and people do that because of politeness, courtesy, saving face, keeping friendship, etc., etc., etc. Right? So there you go. So what are you doing tonight? Nothing, right? Nothing. Fully open. So it means if you want to invite a person, then there is an openness there. Say, what are you doing tonight? The person tells you something like, I'm having dinner with Craig. That's blocking, right? What are you doing tonight? Why? So you see, there is an interest, but there is no openness or go ahead. All right. So we're going out. Why? And then that is a blocking response. So what am I doing? I'm reading. So what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm reading. Okay. That's blocking also. So responding to rejection. Okay. So if a person rejects you and you're inviting them, culturally accepted forms, okay, to respond to rejection is okay. So you want to help me? You want me to help you with anything? No, nothing. Okay. 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 So rejection finalizer. Okay. And okay. Just leave it like that. Okay. Some other thing could be you come to my place to watch the game, and then the person is rejecting it, like blocking it, like no, that's okay. Okay, and that's okay is because the person is downgrading the no, and the person doesn't even say no, because as you know, you should know saying no to a person is too direct. Okay, we should not say no, right? For social reasons. This is not hypocrisy. If someone offers you something like, will you like a drink or will you care for some wine? I'm fine, thanks. And that means, no, I don't want any more wine or whatever you're offering me, okay? So some other way you can probably block that is, I order a pizza and got some drinks, so I already have a plan. I'm telling you no, okay? That's the thing. Complimenting, here we go. Another important area that has to do with discourse practices. So the situation is that since there is purpose in everything we say, complimenting should not fall into flattery. Flattery is dishonest or hypocritical use of language, like those shoes are cool. You always have the best outfits. I love your haircut. You look so nice. Your color really suits you, etc. All of these forms probably are not very, very honest. And of course, in the case of this character lady, she knows that people don't mean it. If it's from a man, maybe the person, the male counterpart is trying to maybe date her or trying to hit on her. If it's coming from a woman, maybe it's dishonest altogether. They just do it because they want to have some positive thing to say. But generally, people are not honest when they tell you things, unless they know how to compliment, right? So according to theory, it's important to pay attention to this, right? People use some solidarity forms. They may probably want to reinforce some desired behavior, such as in keep up with the good work or excellent work, commendable, whatever, or things like not to greet or express some gratitude. That's also possible. Like we enjoyed the cake you made. Really, you are a wonderful cook. I didn't know you had these kitchen skills. things like that, you know. Or great, or someone's work, you know, you're trying to, you know, tell them that the work was good, and you don't want to come as you're an authority telling them about when they are right or not. It's like so there are different ways, and the most important thing is the purpose. Okay, there are three categories: appearance and possessions is one, performance and abilities is another one, and personality traits is another one, right? Now, this is very personal about appearance. You have to be careful, okay, with this. So your blouse looks beautiful, all right? This could be honest or dishonest. It depends on where it comes from, who says that, right? So, I really love your car. That could be something else, but proper complimenting should tell the person why you think that car is lovable, okay? And you proper complimenting should tell the person why the blouse looks beautiful. And if you want to compliment correctly, you should tell them why. Concerning performance, this is more of a male type of complimenting that's more in American English, of course, widely accepted and not taken as some harassing form or insulting, right? Because things among men are different, you know, compared to talk that occurs among women. So we have things that a man may say like, great job, awesome, so outstanding. All of this is generally male. Then on personality, we have to be careful. It has to be a very clear observation about a person's traits. Could be something like you always find the silver linings. That was really inspiring. So it's like you're telling the person that they see the good in the bad. Okay, how do they do that? Also, so that's a skill. I acknowledge that you have this strong point, and so we have to be able to tell people things and explain why we're saying these things. So you witness amazing conversations with you are never boring, or you have to talk. You have information to talk about so many topics, something like that. You know, you know you have diverse topics, something like that. Okay. Then there's so many categorizations. I'm not gonna spend any more time into this, and I'm gonna try to refer very quickly here before I end today's session about some response strategies. People may accept, mitigate, reject, or provide no response. Accept, thanks and thank you. People don't say that very often, like we do in Spanish. That shouldn't be said much because it's like acknowledging, and I should try to humble myself instead of that. So if we mitigate, we say, no, I didn't get that by myself, or that was a gift, or someone bought this for me, or I should altogether reject, and this is better accepted. Like no, well, I don't agree with you on this. You're saying um I'm a good speaker. Well, I don't agree with you. um I sometimes make mistakes when I get nervous, something like that. Or no response, it's like you remain silent. That's also an act. That's part of the speech act theory also. When you remain silent, you acknowledge what the person is telling you, but you don't say anything concerning that. Okay, I think it would be important for us to follow up tomorrow with gender differences in complementing from American English. Female, male complementing. We're going to follow up with this topic tomorrow. It's already 11:55, so I know that there must be some closure to today's session. What I can promise you is that I'm going to be placing in classroom some of those video materials that was scheduled for today's session. We're going to place that in a simplified form, of course. So by all means, I do appreciate very much your attention during today's session, and I pass on to our organizers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Very good.
You bet.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, Professor, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. Well, this is it for today. Thank you. And to all the participants, have a nice day. God bless you.
Please don't forget to complete the attendance form that is in the chat box. That's very important for your certificate. Okay? Have a wonderful and amazing afternoon, and see you tomorrow.
Well, see you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks a lot, Professor Cardenas. Today was as amazing as yesterday and the day before.
Thank you. You bet. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day too, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Falquez, do you have any questions? Or is it that you cannot?
I'm trying to leave the meeting. I'm using my cell phone and I can't see it well. So that's why I'm trying to do to close. Just, yeah. You know my problem. Let me see. Okay, yeah. Okay. Vamos a ver. Abandonar. Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye. See you
Have
tomorrow.
a nice evening.
You too.
Bye. Okay. Bye.